Hi, I'm Virginia. This is Takoda. Today we're going to show you how to practice at home to prepare for a vet or grooming visit. So there's a number of different tools that you can gather up. Typically, each session I do these by just keep it to a minute or two and only use maybe one or two tools. But I've gathered a few different examples of things that you can try and use. We have scissors, nail clippers. These are the guillotine style. There's other types as well. Just a regular emery board, regular cardboard one. I have some clippers, a comb, and a brush. There are a lot of different types of combs and brushes for dogs depending on what your dog's coat is like. You can also use, if you have the stethoscope or thermometer or anything to look in their eyes or ears, any tools like that. It helps for them to be able to see some of these strange things and get used to it before they see it for the first time at the vet office. So the other important tool to have is a bag full of treats. Or you can also use toys, or some dogs that are just praise motivated, you can use that. But the most important thing you're gonna see in the process for all of these different tools, it's really the same process. The most important thing is to go slow and to do it in small increments. And for each tool, you kind of start from the beginning of going slow and gentle. So for instance, here's an example of just, if I'm gonna use scissors, first I'm gonna get him used to the noise of them, away from him. Then if he's okay with that, we can be closer. And the other part of this, besides going slow, is high rate of reinforcement. So petting him, praising him for being good, giving him treats. So I can also touch his foot. Now he doesn't need to be scissored, he is a reasonably short coat, but say he got a burdock caught in his fur or something, or maybe he just got a tangle, or maybe something between his toes, maybe I need to trim something. So it's good for him to get used to it, even if I don't really think he needs it for much. So obviously you can see he doesn't care much about that. He is the type of fur, he doesn't really need to be combed. If you've got a dog with longer fur, you might use a comb. Again, there's a lot of different types of brushes out there, but making sure that you're choosing the right tool for your dog, I would talk to your groomer and find out what's good for them. And if your dog loves being brushed, that can also be a reward for maybe pairing it with things he doesn't like, help improve his interest in the other things. But if your dog's really afraid of grooming, this can be, or brushing, you can make it a positive experience. So the brushes don't really make much of a weird noise. One thing that does make a really weird noise is clippers. Now this is a dog, I don't clip him, but if he needed to get shaved on his leg to get an IV or something, I don't want him to be afraid of the sound. So I start with it first, just kind of away from him. I'm just gonna turn it on. I like to choose ones that are fairly quiet. He's doing pretty well, so again, I'm rewarding him. When I first tried this, I did have it further away just in case he really got nervous and he didn't really care. So gradually I'll get closer to him. And clippers have different things. Same thing if you use a Dremel to trim your dog's toenails. You have the noise of it, but you also have a vibration. The whole thing vibrates. So if I touch it with him, you see he did get a little concerned. He actually got up. And that's okay. I want him to know it's okay to get up, it's okay to move around. He can leave if he wants to, but if he chooses to stick with me, he's going to get treats. So this is a process with some dogs that it can take some time for them to get used to it. The clippers particularly can be difficult for a dog, so I'm not going to go through that whole process now. Let's turn him around. There we go. So other things that you might see at your vet office are they like to look for a physical exam. They're going to want to look in the dog's ears. And so you want to be able to massage his ears, lift his ears up, be able to look in them. You can take if you have a piece of gauze or tissue, you can try and gently clean out the outer part. You don't want to stick anything into their ears. You can use your finger a little bit with the tissue, but you never want to use a Q-tip. We also want to be able, again, I'm going to reward him as often as I can. And these are little things that just you're going to play with your dog just through when you're petting them and just cuddling with them on the couch. But little things like this, of looking into his eyes, you know, being able to kind of open his eye a little bit. We also want to be able to look into his mouth and look at his teeth. So I'm just very gently going to hold his nose and lift his lips. I'm not trying to actually open his mouth, but I'm going to try different positions. I'm going to, again, I don't care if he wants to lay down, he can sit up, stand, it doesn't really matter to me. I just want him to be comfortable. So it's one thing for him to let me do these things. It might be more difficult for him to have some stranger do it. So if you have other friends or family that can help you practice, once you've done it yourself, that can be a good tool too, is to have a friend or family member come over and act like your veterinarian or your groomer. And you feed the dog and distract him and give him lots of praise while you have the other person go over them. If you have a stethoscope, that's also something else you can practice, you know, touching your dog and listening to their heartbeat, which is pretty cool. You can actually buy them online or at your local farm store. One of the things a lot of people have a real hard time with is getting their dog's nails trimmed. Yeah. So one of the things I love to teach my dogs is the trick paw, that I hold my hand out, he smacks his paw into it. He just learned this a few weeks ago, so he's pretty willing to do that. And first I'm making sure that he's just going to give me his paw, that in itself is rewarding. Hey. He likes to give me his right paw, so I want to make sure you guys can see that. Okay. So first I just start with touching his foot, being able to spread apart his toes, check in between his toes and make sure he doesn't have any burrs in there or stickers or ticks. When he's comfortable with that, the next step, and this is things that you won't necessarily do all in one day. If your dog's very comfortable with it, you can move on to the next step. But if they're not comfortable with it, you might spend a few days or even a week on that step. So the next thing I'll do is take my little emery board and practice just smoothing out a nail a little bit. Just to get him used to, again, another strange sound of smooth vibration. And I'll do one nail and I'll give him a break. The more often I give him little breaks and little rewards, the more comfortable he's going to be with this. So the emery board is a great kind of transition to get them used to something a little bit weird, but you can also, it helps to take the edge off those nails too. So if he wants to pull his foot away, he can, I'm going to let him, but he only gets the treat if he sticks with me, if he allows me to do just that. That's all I need him to do. Just let me hold his foot for a few seconds, file it a little, and then he gets a cookie. And then when he's good with that, we'll move on to the clippers. Now a lot of times I won't even use the clippers while I'm working with the dog. Maybe it'll take me even weeks or a month before I'm going to use the clippers. Sometimes you even just have it next to you while you're picking up the dog's foot, or maybe in your hand. Again, squeezing it, clicking it, making the noises that it makes, making sure they're okay with all of that. Once they're okay with that, I'll move it closer to his foot. Same thing, I'm just using the noise, squeezing it next to his foot. I'm not actually trimming a nail yet. Once he shows me that he's comfortable with this stage, then we can go a little bit further. When I do actually feel ready to trim a nail, I trim the teeniest little sliver. So I want to make sure that I'm not in any chance of cutting his nail too short or breaking it or causing him any sort of pain or discomfort. I'll even look at all the nails. If I think there's one that's even, I think that's too short, I'm not even going to clip that one. It doesn't matter even if I didn't clip any today. You know, maybe I have to do this for a few days in a row or before we can clip a nail. But sometimes I'll clip one or two and then we'll be done for the day. So he just let me do two. He was pretty happy with that. The important thing is to remember, quit while you're ahead. You want to stop doing these exercises while your dog's still happy. So you're always ending on a positive note, that he doesn't get sick of the exercise and he wants to leave. If I push too far or I go too fast for him, he gets uncomfortable, he decides to leave, that's fine. But I want to try and do a little bit more to get back to where we were, like here, you know, letting me play with his feet with the clippers, and maybe even trim another nail before we quit for the day. So I want to decide when the exercise is over. I don't want him to leave being unhappy. So a few other things that can help you with your dog being more comfortable is a lot of vets will let you bring if you have a second dog that your dog really likes, you can bring your second dog with you to your appointment as a little emotional support dog. That can help make them more comfortable. Also, a lot of vets and groomers too will do what they call a happy visit, where they'll let you basically just pop in with your dog and come in and say hello to everyone, maybe get some treats and some pets, right? And say hello and not actually get any shots or poking and prodding, and just have a happy visit and get to go home. You can also talk to your groomer if they do groom and grow programs, especially if you have a puppy that's going to require a lot of grooming and combing over its lifetime. They have programs where you can go in once a week or once every other week, and they'll do just little short, 10-15 minute sessions with them to, same idea as this, is creating a positive experience and making sure the dog's understanding how to be on the table and how to get handled and make it a good session. Right? You're a good boy. You can also practice, some dogs do need to be lifted onto tables, depending on the height of the table. Some dogs can jump onto them, but if it's a bigger dog or a taller table, sometimes you have to lift them, or you might have to do it on the floor like we did. So practicing picking your dog up, again, giving him treats or a toy, making it rewarding for him. Also practicing doing some restraints, like a little hug. Some dogs really don't like being hugged. And anything you do, keep it brief. That's the most important thing. So if you restrain them, you give them that little hug, it's quick, it's over. We want to make sure children aren't doing this, because if they're not necessarily going to understand if a dog is uncomfortable with something, they might push things a little too far. So make sure you're doing everything with your dog first, and once you see that your dog is comfortable with it, then you can try other people, and maybe even a child with your direction. So, right?